Something remarkable is happening in Mexico. Beneath the surface of daily life, a transformation is quietly unfolding, one that is reshaping the nation's future and challenging the world's expectations. It's a story that defies the usual headlines and challenges old assumptions. While the world's attention is often drawn to crises and conflict, Mexico is writing a new narrative, one of resilience, innovation, and hope. For decades, the U.S. saw Mexico as a source of cheap labor and a market for its goods, a junior partner in a system that favored the powerful. The border was a line of opportunity for some, but a barrier for many. But that relationship is being upended. The old dynamics are shifting, and a new era is dawning. Mexico is quietly forging a new path, not with minor tweaks, but with a deep structural shift away from the economic doctrines of the last 40 years. This is not just policy change, it's a reimagining of what a nation can be. The world was told there was no alternative to neoliberalism, privatization, deregulation, and austerity. These ideas were sold as the only way forward, shaping economies across the globe. Mexico followed that playbook, selling off state assets and opening its markets, but the promised prosperity never reached most people. Instead, inequality deepened, and millions were left behind, struggling to make ends meet. Now, under President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, AMLO, Mexico is putting public good before private profit. His administration is challenging the status quo, focusing on the needs of ordinary citizens. This isn't a return to old-style state control, but a pragmatic push for a more just and equitable economy. It's about finding balance, using the tools of government to lift people up, while encouraging innovation and growth. The results are real: a stronger currency, reduced poverty, and a growing economy. Families are beginning to feel the difference, with more opportunities and a renewed sense of optimism. This experiment is forcing the world to reconsider what's possible. Economists and policymakers everywhere are taking notice, questioning long-held beliefs about development and progress. It's about reclaiming national dignity and proving a country can prioritize its people and still thrive globally. Mexico is showing that sovereignty and social justice can go hand in hand. The government is investing in its poorest citizens, building infrastructure, and strengthening its energy sector, policies long discouraged by the U.S. Yet, they're working. Roads, schools, and hospitals are being built where they're needed most, and energy independence is becoming a reality. Mexico's economy is growing, its currency is strong, and its people are seeing tangible benefits. Local businesses are thriving and communities are coming together to shape their own destinies. This quiet revolution is more than economic, it's political and social. It's about empowering citizens, strengthening democracy, and building a society where everyone has a stake in the future. It's about sovereignty in a world dominated by multinational corporations. Mexico is asserting its right to chart its own course, even when it means standing up to powerful interests. The shift is sending shockwaves through the established order. Other nations are watching closely, wondering if they too can break free from old constraints. Mexico is showing that a different path is not only possible but effective. Entrepreneurs, educators, and workers are all playing a role in this transformation, proving that change is possible from the ground up. The world should pay attention. What's happening here could inspire movements far beyond Mexico's borders. This is a story of a nation reclaiming its future. Young people are dreaming bigger, and families are looking ahead with hope instead of fear. It's a break from the past, and a challenge to the status quo. The old ways are being questioned, and new possibilities are emerging every day. The Mexican model is becoming a beacon for those seeking alternatives. Around the world, activists and thinkers are looking to Mexico for inspiration and guidance. The quiet revolution south of the border is just getting started. Its roots are deep, and its momentum is growing with each passing day, and its impact is only beginning to be felt. The world is watching, and the future is being written in Mexico. To truly understand Mexico's transformation in the 21st century, we must revisit its recent past and the pivotal events that shaped its society and economy. NAFTA, signed in 1994, was hailed as a groundbreaking agreement that promised jobs, growth, and prosperity for all three countries, US, Canada, and Mexico. It was seen as a new era of cooperation and economic integration. For multinational corporations, NAFTA was a windfall, offering access to cheap labor, fewer trade barriers, and vast new markets to exploit for profit. But for most ordinary Mexicans, the reality was far more devastating and complex. NAFTA flooded Mexico with heavily subsidized U.S. agricultural products, especially corn, crippling millions of small farmers and driving mass migration from the countryside to cities and even across the border. While manufacturing jobs did appear, they were often low-paid, insecure, and offered little hope for upward mobility or a better life. Wealth became concentrated at the very top, while wages stagnated for the majority and inequality soared to new heights. Public services suffered as austerity measures took hold, leaving hospitals and schools underfunded and overstretched. Mexico became a textbook case of neoliberalism, markets first, people second, with privatization and deregulation as the guiding principles. This painful legacy set the stage for AMLO's dramatic rise in 2018, a clear rejection of the old economic model and its broken promises. After decades of disappointment, Mexicans demanded real change, justice, and a new direction for their country. The fourth transformation is a direct response to NAFTA's failures, aiming to rebuild the social fabric and restore hope. It's about reclaiming economic sovereignty, protecting local industries, and putting Mexico's people and future first. The new direction is deeply rooted in the hard lessons of this history, shaping a vision for a more just and independent Mexico. AMLO calls his ambitious project the Fourth Transformation, a sweeping vision for Mexico's future that seeks to redefine the nation's priorities and direction. He places it alongside Mexico's greatest historical turning points: independence, reform, and revolution, signaling a new era of profound change. The goal is clear: to end the era of neoliberalism and build a nation rooted in sovereignty, social justice, and a strong, active state that protects its people. At the heart of this vision is Republican austerity, not cuts for the poor, but a determined effort to slash government excess, waste, and corruption at the top levels of power. The savings from these reforms are redirected to social programs and public investment, expanding support for the most vulnerable without creating new debt or raising taxes for ordinary citizens. Strategic public investment is back in focus. Major infrastructure projects like the Mayan Train and the Tehuantepec Isthmus Corridor are creating thousands of jobs, spurring regional growth and connecting communities that were long neglected. State-owned enterprises such as Pemex and CFE are being revitalized, challenging decades of privatization and restoring national control over vital resources. This new blueprint isn't anti-market. Rather, it insists that markets must serve the public good, supporting both entrepreneurs and everyday citizens. The economy is now seen as a tool for reducing poverty and inequality, not just maximizing profit for a few, but improving the quality of life for all Mexicans. This pragmatic, people-centered approach marks a bold departure from the past, putting the needs and voices of ordinary people at the center of policy. It's a fundamental restructuring of Mexico's political and economic life, aiming to create a more just and inclusive society. The fourth transformation is about making the economy work for everyone, ensuring opportunity and dignity for all. And it's already delivering results, as more Mexicans begin to feel the benefits of this new economic blueprint in their daily lives. Neoliberalism weakened the nation-state, ceding power to global markets and foreign interests. AMLO's government is reversing this, especially in energy. Past reforms opened oil and electricity to private, often foreign companies, promising efficiency but losing control. Now Mexico is investing in Pemex and CFE, aiming for energy sovereignty and affordable power. Projects like the Dos Bocas refinery reduce dependence on U.S. imports. Critics call it backward, but for Mexico it's about control over strategic resources. Labor policy has shifted too. Minimum wage has more than doubled, and labor reforms empower unions. This challenges the low-wage model and gives workers a fairer share. These moves have sparked friction with powerful interests and trade partners, but the resistance is proof. Mexico is no longer a passive junior partner. It's reclaiming its right to chart its own course. The most dramatic shift is Mexico's investment in its people. Republican austerity and anti-corruption measures have freed up resources for direct social programs. Universal pensions for the elderly, scholarships for youth, and cash transfers for the vulnerable are reaching millions. These programs are rights of citizenship, not charity. The impact is immediate. Money in the hands of the poor stimulates local economies and supports small businesses. This bottom-up approach has reduced poverty, even during global downturns. Social spending is now seen as an economic engine, not a burden. Data shows millions lifted out of poverty since 2018. Mexico is proving that growth and social justice can go hand in hand. The results challenge decades of neoliberal dogma. Investing in people is paying off. Mexico and the US are now on diverging economic paths. For years, Mexico mimicked the US: free markets, privatization, deregulation. Now, as the US faces rising inequality and crumbling infrastructure, Mexico is strengthening public institutions and investing in its people. In the US, public services are often run for profit, leaving millions behind. In Mexico, the state is building public works and expanding services directly. Labor policy is another contrast. While US wages stagnate, Mexico's minimum wage has soared and unions are empowered. Fiscal discipline is key. Mexico funds social programs by cutting waste, not borrowing. The peso is now one of the world's strongest currencies. International investors are taking notice despite their skepticism. Mexico is showing that a progressive, state-led model can be both just and fiscally sound. The contrast with the US is stark and instructive. A new model is emerging south of the border. Mexico's experiment has global significance. For decades, developing countries were told to follow the Washington Consensus: open markets, privatize, accept a subordinate role. Now Mexico is proving there's another way. Its success offers a roadmap for nations seeking alternatives to neoliberalism. Other countries can point to Mexico. Higher wages, expanded social programs, and stronger state enterprises are possible. This challenges the authority of institutions like the IMF and World Bank. Mexico's model strengthens the case for economic pluralism and national sovereignty. A more independent Mexico is reshaping regional dynamics and global discourse. The Quiet Revolution is changing the map of the 21st century. The fourth transformation's gains are real, but the challenges are immense. Neoliberal structures are deeply entrenched, and powerful interests resist change. Public security remains a major issue, with violence and organized crime still plaguing parts of the country. Rebuilding state capacity after decades of neglect is a long-term task. The success of these reforms depends on strong, honest institutions and committed public servants. Political succession is crucial. AMLO's chosen successor, Claudia Sheinbaum, won a decisive mandate, but defending these gains will be an ongoing battle. The old regime is waiting for a chance to reverse course. The next phase will test whether Mexico's new path can endure. The fight for a just and sovereign Mexico is far from over. In a world facing economic crisis and political despair, Mexico stands out as a beacon of hope. It's a real-world example of a country breaking from a failed model and making tangible progress. Mexico's approach is pragmatic, democratic, and focused on human well-being. It's not state socialism, but a mixed economy where the state plays a strategic guiding role. The lesson: political will matters, and governments can serve their people despite powerful opposition. Mexico's story is a victory for democracy and popular mobilization. The path it's forging may be one of the most important developments of our time. It offers inspiration and practical tools for progressive movements worldwide. If Mexico can reduce poverty and expand public services, why can't others? The Quiet Revolution is a story of hope and a challenge to us all.